Yeah. Yo, let's get it poppin' like some bacon grease. The beat is knocking like Jehovah Witnesses invade the streets. I'm related to David. It's my nature to slay a beast. Even with the nicest intentions, I do the same to beats. The objective is elevating the Savior King. We lift the science so high that he's over everything. But in our efforts in glorifying him faithfully, we're
Yo, what's up? Thank y'all for tuning in for another edition of The Juice. I'm IG, your host, and we got with us today special guest. We got the beautiful Ariel Houston, definitely a great artist out there. Ariel, say what's up to the people for me.
Hello, people, and hello, IG.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for being here. Definitely appreciate it. But I really want to get right into this interview. Now, you do bear the Houston last name, which people don't know. You're the sister-in-law of Whitney Houston. So, how does even bearing that last name affect your musical journey? Because I know that's got to be tough.
So that's a great question. Actually, bearing the Houston name doesn't so much affect, or it hasn't anyway so far affected my musical journey in this positive or negative way. I would say more so than anything, just having the relation, right? Like, being around when Whitney was here, recording with her and eating with her and being around her and being with Sissy and John and my husband and just the Houston family and the Drinkard family itself, I would say has been more impactful on my musical journey than just bearing the name. Just having the name has not been so much more impactful than it has been the relation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I guess if they don't know Houston's a common last name, if they don't know that you're related to them, it's not going to impact anything they do. But once they know, it's that they sometimes it's an expectation put on you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, I really want to get into.
Before we move on, I think that's a good point, because when people do find out and make that relation, I think that it can be tough. I think tougher than what people would probably think, just because Whitney set the bar so high. And so, voices like Whitney only come around every 5,000 years, right?
Yeah,
and
you're
so
right.
we have that person that's setting the bar. It can, I guess, I don't know, make it tougher in that regard. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, that bar is set very high, but you're reaching to it. I heard your music and you're doing your thing out there. So ain't no fronting on that.
Well,
But
thank you. I appreciate that.
no problem. I really want to get into how you started, because you've been doing this for a long time. Like your childhood, you was involved in music. You was an entertainer. You did off Broadway, all these things. But still, with all that going on, you still went through a period of homelessness as a child.
Oh,
Explain
yeah.
how this. Explain to the people out there how this shaped your music and how it's also shaped your philanthropy, because you do a lot of philanthropic work as well.
Yes, I do. So I started modeling. I was a Ford model at 5 years old, and I was a showbiz kid. And so I started off modeling, but then I delved into acting and singing and off Broadway, and I was just this showbiz kid. But it was interesting. I like the way you put it. So my childhood as a childhood entertainer was not typical, in the sense that I was, performing with celebrities. I was, rubbing shoulders with my colleagues were celebrities, even celebrities now. And when I would leave set or leave the production or the audition or whatever, many times we didn't know, meaning my brother and sister and my mother, we didn't know where we were going to sleep. That happened many nights. I remember singing the anthem at a Knicks game, because I started singing the anthem at 9 years old there quite often. And we left Madison Square Garden, and I couldn't, first of all, let me back up. I couldn't wait to go sing, because they had this great buffet, right? That like everyone gets to go eat.
Buffet, hey.
And so I loved to go there because the food was so great. And, that was like a treat for me. And so, but after I would sing and we would walk out of Madison Square Garden, there at one point, I remember my mother looking at us and saying, "You guys, I don't know where we're sleeping tonight." But my mother always found a way, always. And we made it, and I don't regret anything in my childhood.
Oh, I understand. Like this homelessness is a thing that hits with me because I actually worked at a homeless shelter for a while, so I would see those families, and I went through a spell myself. So it's definitely something I relate to, and like when someone has a testimony about it, it always gets to me.
Yeah, and in regards to my philanthropic work now, the Houston Foundation, it's serves individuals with mental illness and substance addiction, but as you know, the homeless population is very prevalent within that space, and so I kind of feel like it all lives in the same space together, and so being able to help one is helping all of it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And you just hit my next question. So you went into the Houston Foundation of Hope, and I was good with the mental health. And what are your actual goals with that? With the Houston Foundation of Hope.
The Houston Foundation for Hope. So currently, like our current programming is basically reducing barriers to the treatment and recovery process, right? So barriers are like housing, employment, transportation. Those are all barriers that people face. They go into treatment, they come out, and they don't have these things, and it causes relapse. It's right. And so there are even barriers to the barriers. For example, lack of government identification, lack of access to transportation. So we help with bus passes and helping people get their birth certificates, helping people get driver's licenses, IDs. So we have a long list of community partners and government partners that help facilitate that. But in terms of like goals, future goals for Houston Foundation, I always, the way it began, one of the reasons was to reduce the stigma around mental illness and substance addiction, and even homelessness in that regard. And I feel like, platforms like this is what will help reduce the stigma. We have to talk about it. I find myself in a lot of spaces where, mental illness is the stigma is kind of starting to decrease a little bit, even in the Black community. But substance addiction is still the topic that it's like, well, let's not talk about that. Maybe that's not the right place. Maybe this is not the right place for that. But that's the problem. That perpetuates the cycle of stigma, right? And
Right.
so, yeah, I just want to be able to talk about it. It's not about say no to drugs. It's about like, let's talk about drugs, right? Like,
Right.
especially for the youth. It's about education, educating people. And everyone's affected by it. Like you might not, for example, have mental illness or a substance dependency yourself, but there is someone that has a substance dependency and you just don't know it. Your teacher, your friend, your family member, you know what I mean? So everyone's
Mm,
affected.
absolutely. Well, I absolutely know what you mean. I don't talk about it, but my father dealt with substance abuse, and most people around me never knew. So it's
Hmm.
it's definitely something. This is something I'm definitely always for back in, and doing stuff. Whew, man, you got me in a space I didn't want to be in an interview. All right. Well, I wanted to get into your latest single, "Breaking My Heart." For the people that haven't heard it, it's a dope song. Actually, y'all go to my page. You go to Juice Media. We did have it playing yesterday for y'all. Um, just explain the whole concept of the song and what which came about for you to even do this song.
Yeah, so heartbreak, the concept is obviously heartbreak, betrayal, possibly infidelity, um, but for me, the concept came about with all of those things in mind. But it wasn't so much infidelity for me. My husband was struggling with some issues that caused me to feel all of those things, right? All of the betrayal, the lying, the broken promises, um, the things that a woman would feel when her spouse does cheat on her with another woman, right? So it doesn't necessarily
Right.
have to be infidelity that causes all of these things, all of these feelings. And so that's really where the concept came from.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel that it's a great song. Did have a I was gonna say it was a sample in there. I was trying to think where the sample was from. I couldn't think of it before. I probably have to go back and listen to it, and I can tell you exactly where the sample was from. But
Listen to it again.
everybody,
I'm sure you know.
yeah, yeah. As soon as, because I knew it the first time when I heard it, I was like, I know exactly where that comes from. So people, y'all need to go check that out, man. It's on Spotify. It's on all your streaming services. Now, this is a question for me as a hip hop head.
Okay.
Saw you had work with Bone Crusher. How was that experience?
Oh my gosh, Bone Crusher. He's an amazing individual, phenomenal talent. He's poetic. He's smart. He's intelligent. Like he's so many things all in one, you know. And just being able to be at the studio with him, and he came. We did a like a short little video clip for Guns Down Life Up, and he came to it as well. And he was down for the cause. Do you know what I mean? Like the same way I was. And I think the song that we did together, Guns Down Life Up, was for an organization in the Bronx with Lincoln Hospital, Guns Down Life Up, for the youth. And so him showing up the way he did, just, you know, was self-explanatory. It shows his character. And he's just dope.
So he was one of my favorites when I was younger. So, you know, it's still, even though didn't have a lot of hits out there, the stuff that I listened to, I always enjoyed from him. So that's a big thing for me as a hip hop head, to see people working with hip hop artists. All right.
Yeah.
I wanted to get into your process of making music a little. Could you explain how you actually make your music? Do you write first? Do you hear a melody in your head that you keep there? Or do you just go in the studio? Because I have some friends of mine that do music and just go in the studio and then they just write once they get in the studio. They don't do anything else.
You know, I love melodies. Like I love creating melodies, right? And sometimes I might come up with a melody prior to getting the beat first. But if I had to say, my number one process, it is go in the studio. I love to get the music first. I don't like to write first. I might come up with a melody first, but I don't really like to write first. I like to write to a track.
To a track. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I understand it, but I just saying I've been around a lot of people and everybody's process is very different. It's just like I
Yeah.
don't understand how some people could work that way and some people can't, but everybody has their own process. Now,
For sure.
since your manager was here a little while ago, Kool-Aid Baby, let's talk about that. First of all, I didn't have this question for you, but where did the name Kool-Aid Baby come from?
So I have a management team, and Sunny is part of that management team, marketing promo today. And Sunny he actually started Kool-Aid Baby Entertainment, and we kind of collaborated our companies, and so it's actually Kool-Aid Baby Houston Music Group. But we continue with Kool-Aid Baby because that's a mouthful, right? So yeah, that's where we would have to ask Sunny where Kool-Aid Baby came from. I think it's a cool name though.
No, because it caught my attention to me. Like Kool-Aid Baby, yeah, that's different. And I understand being from some area, you could be a Kool-Aid baby, like that's what you drank. So
Right?
yeah, I got you. But with Kool-Aid Baby and being, the position you have there in the Houston Music Group part, how does that give you creative freedom to do the music that you want to do?
Oh man, it gives all the creative freedom, which is like the beautiful part of being independent and having your own entity is that freedom. Along with that freedom though comes like you've got a couple hats. You don't get to just be artist. You have to be artist and also other things, right? So we have this, as an artist, you have this creative freedom, but you also have like checks and balances that you have to create within yourself because you are, owner or management at times. So.
Yeah, so I can see that's a juggling thing here. How you able to juggle all these things and stay on a certain path, and it seems like you're doing it pretty well right now. So I commend
Thank
you for
you.
that. We got about two more questions and we'll get you out of here because I don't like to keep people on too long, So, in the near future, is there any specific artists, producers that you're looking to work with? So I know you've worked with Rodney Jerkins in the past, but we're not gonna, we're gonna leave that one alone.
Yes, I did work with Rodney Jerkins in the past, a long time ago. So obviously, I would say, like, as a singer, for me anyway, this singer, it was always a dream to sing with Whitney. I recorded a song with Whitney that the world has never heard. Don't know if they ever will, but that was always a dream, right? So there's that. But I guess I would say I would like to work with Kanye West and DJ Khaled.
Okay. That's two people. We're gonna say I'm cool with both of them, but I'm not really a Kanye fan right now. So,
and I understand
actually, that. I don't have anything against Kanye. It's I have more problems with the church, the way they handle him than.
Okay. And everyone has their opinions, their perspectives, and everyone is right to have those, right? But regardless of your opinions, you cannot deny the man's talent.
Oh, right? Yeah, absolutely.
His musical genius.
I will never deny his talent. Never. Yeah. Never. He's talented. I could give you my reason.
For me as a singer, I'm like, yeah, I want to do one. Like, I want, you know what I mean? I want him to say, yes, that's a hit, or let's create a hit, because I know where it's coming from.
Right. You come from someone who definitely knows what a hit is. And I ain't gonna say I never heard him put out a bad song. But yeah, no, he doesn't put out too many ones that aren't bad. So, he's putting out hits after hit after hit, no matter what genre it is. So, and like we said earlier, you did your off-Broadway. So are you going to venture into TV and film at any time in the near future?
I would love to. Like, that's what I've done my whole life. It wasn't just off-Broadway, it was TV, films, you know what I mean? And so I think when life happened, and, I had my children, and I went through my ebbs and flows of adulthood. I'm at the place now where, getting back into my music, I absolutely want to get back into TV and film as well. Yeah.
Got it. I wish you the best with that. Maybe see you on the Hallmark Channel or something real soon.
Thank you for that.
Before we let you go, thank you for being here, but I just wanted you to give a chance to tell everybody how they can reach you: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
So, to be honest, I am like the most basic artist. Ariel Houston Music on my Instagram, and you can find me through that way. You can find all my other links through Ariel Houston Music on Instagram.
We thank you, Ariel, for wish you the best in all your endeavors, and just thank you for being here. And y'all have been tuned into The Juice. We will see y'all next week.
Thank you, IG.
You're welcome.
Everybody keep it down for me.
Yeah. So, hold on.
Because it will not be a sin in the eyes of my...
That was the longest 4 minutes.